Good evening, and welcome to this week's edition of M.E.R, Men's Equal Rights. I'm coming to you live from Chicago, the Windy City. Yes, folks, in the wintertime. We're excited about our show today. We believe in 50-50 custody, as you all know. And our guest today is one that has fought for 50-50 custody for quite some time now. He's with us to share his story. You might know him from his great acting jobs with Tyler Perry on different shows on television, or you might know him from the group As Yet, one of the balladeers, a heartthrob. He's here with us today, but I know him as a friend and a person who has a really big heart. Please welcome to the forum, the one and only, Mr. Tony Grant. Tony, hey man, how's it going?
Hey. All right, brother. How are you?
I'm good. I normally wear a suit, but I dress casual because I know you always have the pullover, so I didn't want you to have me out here like that.
That's right, brother. That's good move. Good move.
Where I have a suit on and you are dressed casual, ready to do an R&B song. It's good to see you, brother.
It's good to see you as well, man. Really good to see you.
And Tony, before we get started, I'd just like to let the audience know and the panel know that I know you as a man of God, a man who believes in prayer, a man who believes in marriage, and a man who believes in fatherhood.
That's correct.
So with that said, why would such a man who's famous, also a father, a good father, and a good husband, why would he have difficulty seeing his children? Tell us your story, Tony.
Well, sometimes we get into situations where the relationship falters and then the two adults can't be amicable when it comes to the time with the children or spending, being around their kids. I mean, in my situation, I was divorced in a marital situation where I was asked for a divorce that I didn't want to have. But then that divorce was final and I moved on. And I was in a position of giving my heart to someone else, which is my current wife. My ex decided if I didn't come back, I couldn't see my son. Now, I can keep it 100 and tell you I had some really bad thoughts.
It began right there when your ex said, okay, so you getting married. And I do know your current wife. She's from Chicago. I've been knowing her for years. I know her mother. She's extremely gorgeous. She's absolutely gorgeous, a brilliant actress. She's actually on the show Family Business with Ernie Hudson right now, playing Stephen Williams' wife. Do you think that was a part of it? The fact that you moved on and had such a beautiful wife who was already affluent in Hollywood and famous. Do you think that was a part of it?
I do. I think that was a part of it, but I think the main thing was the lack of control. I was raised by women, so I refused to give up that control and my independence as a man. So because of that, I think that played a major part. The whole thing to me was, okay, if I can't get you this way, I'll get you the other way, which is a way that I know your heart is at. Because I'm a family man, I love my children, that I will do anything for them. And not only would I do anything for them, I proved to you that I would do anything for your children.
That's correct. Because you came to court. When I was in court, you brought your wife and you came to support me in fighting for my children. Why do good guys like us have to fight for our children? Why are you fighting to see your son?
That I don't know. That is the craziest thing I've ever seen in my life. That's something that my mother never did. She never kept me away from my dad. It's just she gave my dad the option of, hey, it's your choice. You want to see your children? The door is open. Well, in my case, it was, no, you're not going to see it. You're not going to see this kid. So I'd post up outside the house to see him just walk out. And I was okay with that. I'd sit in the car, and however long it took for him to come out, I'd sit there to see him. And then when he got older and we started talking and communicating, I had to tell him all of that. And when I explained to him, look, I saw you getting on the bus to go to school. This is what you had on. It messed his head up. He couldn't believe it. He's like, Dad, but I was told you didn't even try. I was told you didn't even, wasn't sending money. You wouldn't call. You wouldn't do anything. And I was like, oh, I was calling, but my number was being blocked and all kind of stuff. Just crazy stuff.
Like, what happened? What was the craziest? Give an example of what really prevented you from seeing your son.
The craziest was, don't tell your dad you're doing. My son's an entertainer as well. He's very successful too. An amazing singer. And he covered a song from the 90s called Candy Rain, and it blew up. But the whole thing is, don't tell your dad, where you are. Don't tell your dad what you're doing. You don't want your dad to be a part of it. Now I'm being successful, and the road that you got to go, I've already traveled, and I've been blessed to be able to pave the way for you. But the amazing part was how I even found out the things that my son was doing was he was being taken to everybody I worked with that helped my career be successful. So you're thinking that you can take him to all my connections and they're not going to recognize that that's my kid. So the crazy part is this kid would go in the studio and start singing, and the producers would go, dude, who's your pops? Who's your dad? You sound just like this guy. You know who Tony Grant is? And he'd say, that's my dad. And it just went from there. So people started calling me, telling me the success and how he was doing and all of this stuff. And I'm reaching out to his mom, and I'm like, look, what are you doing? What is happening? Why in the world would you do this? Why would you keep me away from him? When I can bless his life, I can be a blessing to his life. So why would you do that? There's all kind of excuses. I'm not trying to keep him away. He don't want to see you and blah, 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 all this crazy stuff. So I just said, well, actually I have a praying mother as well. And there was one day that I was like, okay, you know what? Now I'm upset. Now I'm ticked off. And I'm a praying man, and I love God. But that particular day, I was just like, okay, God, you know what? I'm about to move you to the side because I'm about to do something stupid. Mm-hmm. I'm out of this. I'm over it. And I talked to my mother, and my mother said something amazing to me that blessed my life. She said, he knows who you are. Your son knows you. You were in his life when he was born, when he was a youngster. You were his hero at 4 and 5 years old and 6. And unfortunately, y'all didn't make it. But the one thing you cannot make him do is choose between you two, because you're going to lose that one. Because he's with her. And I said, but Mom, this doesn't make any sense. I want him to be a part of my life, and I want to share. She can't teach him how to be a man. She said, well, guess what? He's going to become a man. So when he becomes a man, he's going to call on you. Just make sure you're ready. Make sure you're prepared. And it happened exactly like she said. He got older. He called on me. Now he comes around every chance he gets. He got his own place, got a car. He calls me for advice. We talk about the entertainment world. I refuse, though, to let him disrespect his mother, even though sometimes he gets really, really angry about some things that he found out that just wasn't true. And I think the most hurtful part is the feeling of, I could have had this time. I could have been with my dad, and I've been misled. And so I have to keep pouring into him now to keep his mind focused on what it is that he desires to do and how we build our relationship.
What was one of the most hurtful things that he was angry with his mother about, that he had been told that wasn't true? One or two of them.
That I was a cheater, that I cheated on his mother.
Well, what does that have to do with him?
That
has nothing to do with it.
Because that was the excuse that was given to keep me away from him.
Mm-hmm.
So that excuse was given to keep me away from him, that I was a cheater, I was an abuser, that I was violent, and I put my hands on all these, just a bunch of ridiculous stories.
The same story. It's not just, you, Tony. It is every man that comes into the courtroom, and sometimes women that come into the courtroom. They're vilified, and the narrative is controlled concerning them as well. But majority men, and it's the same story. Your father's violent. He abused us. He beat me. He beat you. He was a cheater. Let me say this to the public, that during my marriage, what went on between my wife and I had nothing to do with my children. And if you want to know the actual truth, my wife was caught in the game way before. I was never in the game caught, but I was in the game because she was in the game. So we were both in the game. We talk about what's real. That is fact. But that has nothing to do with your ability to be a good father to your children, and nothing to do with her ability to be a good mother. If we decide to part, my wife and I were separated for years, and a lot of people didn't know that because we lived in the same house. Did you do the same thing, or you got out?
No, I had been asked to leave for years. I'm going to say at least 2 years. I was asked for a divorce, and I was just like, no, I'm not doing that.
So you was trying to work through it.
I was trying to work through it. I'm like, I didn't get married to get divorced, and we got these kids. I mean, what are we talking about here? I mean, come on. My son is young. Your daughter is young. Let's hang in there, because that's what I come from. I'm a Southern boy from North Carolina, so we believe in the institution of marriage, and we don't believe in just carrying the title. We believe in filling the position. I don't know anything else but work and providing for my family. Mm-hmm. So, but the problem that we run into sometimes is that one is all about the family and other is all about career and all about being seen and attention and all of that stuff. And I don't want to bash anyone in that respect, but I'm all about putting my family first. That's my dream. That's where my heart is at. That's what I'm all about. That's why when we transitioned, and for me to get remarried to my current wife, we don't have no struggles about being apart and divorcing and all this kind of crazy stuff. And we're not violent with each other and none of that. That's not even my character. That's not who I am. So to put that label on me, that was one of the things that almost sent me over the top too. Mm-hmm. Is, you know, that's not me. That's not who I am. But why would you use this as a tool with my son when you know my son loves me and I know he loves you? I know he loves you. So I'm not tell him anything that's going to make you even look bad. I wouldn't do that whatsoever. But you don't hesitate to do that to me. And children, when they're young, they're impressionable.
Yes.
So
how did it affect you living in a household with a new wife? Him living with his mother, did he ever come to live with you at any time or stay with you and your current wife? He was never allowed to do that.
Never allowed to do that. He was made to feel very bad, very guilty if he came over. He didn't, I don't want you around her. I only want you around him. It's all of that, which is so foolish. And of course, it hurt my wife because she's a family-oriented woman too as well. And I know her children. So I'm around them and I'm loving on them and they're loving me. And she's like, why can't I be around, your children? I just don't understand. This is crazy. And I'm willing to do whatever. I'm willing to talk to her and we come to an agreement or whatever. And I would never try to discredit anything that she does, as far as rules and regulations for her child. And I said, we're just going to have to wait. We're going to have to wait till he gets old enough and move out and make the decision on his own. And he did. I was so grateful, and I've been so grateful to God because he turned it all the way around. I mean, what the devil meant for bad, God turned it out for good for my life. And when I tell you the hurt, though, the hurt and the anger and the frustration and I almost felt like, sometimes I just felt like God was mad at me. And I was like, God, what did I do in my past that warrants me to deal with this? Mm-hmm. What in the world? I grew up in a family and I love my kids. I adore them. And this is the craziest part about that is I once adored her. Yeah. I once adored her. So for you to turn on me in this manner and then put these rumors out here and I'm listening to people, they're telling me this stuff and I'm going, what? Wait, she said what? How? I'm the father of your child. Why would you put that? How do you do that? But I refused to come back with it. But there was one point though, I ain't gonna lie to you, brother. I was like, okay, you know what? I'm ready to handle this because this is ridiculous. And it was a situation as well where my son was around some bad people.
Mm-hmm.
He was stuck in the middle of some bad people that had been connected to him, not through me, but I had to make my appearance known, and I had to let them know, look, the Lord blessed me to bring him in the world, and I'm gonna tell you now, I'll die for him. But I also want to understand that, and I mean that. That's my blood, that's my seed, that's my son. So we're gonna either get it together, or this is where we're gonna end up. And thank God we got it together and moved on. But even still today, my ex and I, we don't even speak. We can't even talk to each other. I'm open to talk, speak, whatever. I'm like, look, let me call, see how you doing. You're the mother of my son. But can't get past it.
What is it that you think? I know you don't know, but what do you think she's so holding on to all of this anger towards you for? What do you think that's about?
My honesty,
Yes.
is that I've been able to be successful without her. That I've been able to move on without her.
I don't know what it is that women want us homeless and crawling in the street dying when we break up. And that's not all women. Let me say that because I know Lala's going to have some things to say in a minute. But women be like, I want him. See, you should have stayed with me. Now look at you. You're living under a bridge and you're crawling and you're dying and you're on drugs. Look at that's what they want to see us in. But you actually, because I did meet your first wife, because we've worked together for years. So I met her. I actually didn't think the marriage was going to work, and I told you that. I was vocal about it. I felt she was too possessive. She was too possessive, Tony. She felt like she owned you. The whole Anthony Grant image and the whole brand in her mind belonged to her. And really, we belong to God. We're put here by God. It's obvious that you're a good man and that you intend to do the good thing and right thing for your family. That's obvious. How long were you kept away from your son? Like years that you went without seeing him?
8 years.
You went without seeing him for 8
years. Let me take it back. Without me personally being able to see him and embrace him and talk to him?
Yes.
8 years. 8 years. And he lived 15 minutes away.
8 years.
8 years.
And how do you think him not being parented by you, his father, in your home, how do you think it affected him being parented in her home and not being allowed to be parented in your home? What is he missing?
Oh my gosh. It's catch up. I'm playing catch up. There are things that he just does not know.
Examples?
How to fill out, how to ask for checks at a bank, how to open up a bank account, how to go in and get an order, cashier's check. Just little things, how to pay a bill. And I'm playing catch up with all of that. And I'm just like, sometimes it's, it could get frustrating, but on another part of me, I get sad about it. And I'm like, God, okay, I got to start over with this kid because he's not how to survive without it. He wouldn't make it.
So as a man who taught him about what manhood is, how to care for his family like you care for yours, was there any male image?
Nope. None whatsoever. He was living with his mother and his older sister.
And so how is he when you look at him concerning being a man? He has a lot to learn about what manhood is?
Yes, he does. He has a lot to learn about what being a man is. And I'm grateful too now because he's getting it now. He's there. I mean, because I've been able to see him for the past 4 or 5 years. But he was a little late bloomer when it comes to things of being responsible. And being focused on that responsibility of putting family first over career under God. putting God first over everything. He struggled. He was struggling. I remember one night we sat out here in front of my house, and he was like, Dad, I don't believe in God.
Mm.
And I looked at him. I said, okay. And he was like, just okay. I said, yeah. And he said, you don't have anything to say about that? I said, I know you believe because you wouldn't have brought it up if you did. So now let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. We stood out. He came over here, I think at like 10. We stood outside and we talked. We just talked. We sat on the car and we just talked. And he shared and I just listened. I did what my mother's advice was. I just listened to him, and he went from when I left. Well, let me take that back. He went from before I left all the way to when I left, the time we were apart. And then when he got to the final of now we're here, we are, I said to him, I said, son, everybody has a journey. We all have a journey. Now, what comes within that journey, we're not going to know until the end of that journey. We haven't reached the end of that journey yet. I said, so there's much more to go. But in the process of you going on that journey, look, you got a lot to learn, man. And right now, you just need to learn Daddy loves you more than anything in this world. That's all you need to learn. And hold on to that. And the rest, God will fill it in. He'll fill it in. Because this was the one thing missing in your life. And I know that. Because it's what was missing.
His father. And so it does make a tremendous difference on children being parented in one household as opposed to both households. And I would imagine that it's a struggle for a child and so confusing when a parent is absent or being vilified in so many ways. Was he angry with you when you first?
Almost definitely. Oh, very. He was very angry. But that was based upon lies that he was told. And that's the sad part. And even that part angered me. I mean, when I would talk to my mother and I'd say, he's believing the lies. He don't even want to talk to me. But, as he got older, started getting 16, 17 years old, he's like, I don't want to talk to him. And I remember not an altercation, but a situation where I had to step to him as a man, as his dad and as a man. And my words to him were, you didn't ask for me as a dad, but God chose you for me as a son. You didn't ask for me as a dad, but God chose you for me as a son. One thing you have to do, you don't have a choice. You have to respect me. You ain't got to love me. You ain't got to like me. But you have to respect me because the Bible talks about your days being shortened if you don't. It says, Father, that your days may be long. I said, so if you don't do that, then you're cutting your days off and you're cutting your happiness off. You're cutting your peace off. I said, but I guarantee you, if you do the things that honor God, you will have a successful career. Boom, record blew up.
And he's doing very well in the industry, but I'm sure there's still a lot missing because you were absent for 8 years of his life. With that said, I want to open up the floor to the panel and our analysts. Lala Justice, welcome to the forum. The founder of Chidenity and is an activist, and she is forging ahead, helping parents to see their children. And in a minute, once I get all of these things in line, I'm sure she's going to help me to see mine as well. Welcome, Lala. How are you? I think you're muted, so we got to bring your sound in. We can't hear you right now. I can't hear you. I still can't hear you. So while they're working on your sound, we will continue on. I have a very serious question for you, Brother Tony, or Anthony Grant, as you're known globally. It is for me, it's a challenge daily not to be angry about the wrong that has been done to my children. and myself, and you know that because we talk about this all the time. And you actually went on my IG because someone was on there, I believe, pretending to be my son.
Yeah.
But you addressed it as if it was possibly my son. And before you even respond, let me say, anywhere we are, it's two brothers there that's grown men. We ain't worried about nothing. We get back to back. We making it out of whatever the situation is. I always feel that when I'm around you. I know you feel the same with me. If anybody come at us the wrong way, we can handle the situation.
That's correct.
It angers me that I couldn't be there for my son. It's going on 8 years now to raise him to be a man, and my two beautiful daughters. What do you do to deal with your anger?
I pray. I'm constantly praying because I still have some. When I see my son and I see that distant look in his eyes of not knowing how to do certain things, I have to fight back the tears. I have to fight the anger, and I have to check myself and saying, okay, let me keep my mouth shut because I'm ready to go to just pull up. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Pull up and say, what was going on with you that you just had to do this? So I pray. I try to keep myself busy. But mostly, man, I pray and I say, God, you got this because I'm not man enough to deal with this. You didn't give me the type of heart to just abandon and not deal and not have compassion for my children or anybody's children. I don't have that type of heart. So for me to have to suffer with my own, it's like I'm ready to tear up some stuff and go, okay, now, you know what? I'll deal with the consequences later. But I thank God for growth. Thank God for growth. Thank God for maturity. Thank God for looking at him. Because I know if I hurt his mother, if I do something to his mother, if I hurt his mama emotionally, and he sees that I do that, he may never speak to me. He never.
But it doesn't matter how much his mother has hurt you emotionally. And that's what disturbs me. It's as if your feelings and your thoughts and you don't matter. And the worst part about it is when people say, this is my child. No, this is our child.
That's right.
I gave this child or these children to both of us, not just you and not just me. And I'd like to hear Lala chime in. Lala, do we have sound for you now?
Oh, we should. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Wonderful.
There she is, Lala Justice, Tony Grant.
Thank you.
Hi, Miss Justice. Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Grant, wow, amazing story. And the fact that you're still able to maintain being neutral is admirable, I will tell you, because most parents can't stay neutral. They're caught in the conflict and they can't really see their way out. It's typically one or the other. So it's really good that you're still maintaining that neutrality today. And so how old was your son when the divorce happened?
He was, when we split when he was 10. And divorce became final when he was 12.
Wow. And during the, were there court proceedings, I assume?
No, I know that. We didn't have to go to court or anything. Let's put it this way. My ex was blended race. Let's put it that way. She was a blended race. So I knew if I went to court in that situation, I wasn't going to have a chance because she was a very good actress. Very, very good. And I was a man working on the road, doing shows and concerts and plays and things of that nature. So I was a good provider, taking care of my family. But when it came down to the courts here in California, I'm going to say the courts in California, that's a different kind of beast when it comes, because I've watched different ones. Some friends of mine have to deal with the court system here, and then watching Evan, his situation, and another buddy. And when it comes to a black man, an African American man here, it's different. It's a little different.
Wow. So at the time of your divorce, though, did the courts give you like standard visitation, and
No.
she wasn't abiding by, she got sole custody on the first go round?
Full custody. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that was nothing. I had no history of nothing. I have never been to jail, never, no, nothing. No drugs, never. Anything. Nothing.
Wow.
But I think, and you know, the fact that I was on the road, though, my career is me traveling on the road, and how I made my income was me traveling. So they will, of course, they're going to look at her as being suitable because she had a stationary place for him to live. But of course, I was paying for it because she didn't work.
Yeah, so that was going to be my next question was, so they didn't have a problem with you paying child support or alimony or anything like that, but
Yeah.
didn't give you any visitation rights.
Right. None of that. I didn't get any of that. It was a very, very difficult time. Very difficult time for me emotionally. It was a difficult time for me. And you know what? I'll tell you something that I did. There was a point during that time where I was homeless. I was sitting in my car, and I just prayed. I did. I talked to God, and God just changed everything. It's like in a flash. He just changed everything for me, and my life changed. My career changed. My relationship with my children. Anthony was my youngest. He was the one that I couldn't get to him. I couldn't see him. I couldn't anything. And then I remember when he turned 18, he invited me out. He called me and invited me. And he was like, "Don't tell Mom." He called, invited me. He's like, "I'm performing in Alabama." And I was in Atlanta. I was like, "Oh, I'm there." And I drove. I jumped in the car and drove 2.5 to almost 3 hours. And I drove. And I was so proud to be there. He's like, "Just don't tell Mom."
And let me interject for a second. That is beautiful that you were able to see your son, but it is also sickening that a mother would say something to her child about seeing the father, their own father. Don't stay away from your father, who's a good man. And it's not like you're someone that people don't know of. All they have to do is Google your name. It's sickening to me today. And I'd like to say to the public out there that tune in and view this, if you are a woman and you're struggling with that sort of mental illness, it's unfortunate and you need to seek help. Or if you're a man who is parental alienating a woman from her children, it is sickening. You are sick and you need help. And more than anything, you're damaging your child. So Tony, how did the child, being your son, being just parented by her, how did it affect him mentally and emotionally?
Well, mentally, it definitely affected him because he felt neglected in a sense by me. And then he felt defeated and cheated because of the lies that he found out later that were exactly what they were. They were lies. And one of the things that I learned is this. If I'm telling the truth, I don't have to defend that. If I'm living my truth, I don't have to defend that. So I'm just going to continue moving in that direction. And the truth will always trump a lie. And it did. And when it trumped the lie, he was so angry and he was almost hysterical. It hurt him. And to me to have to watch that, and he stood out in front of my house and the tears, coming down his face. And he's like, "I just don't understand that. Why would she not? Why would she keep me from you? Why would she tell me this about you and this? None of it's true." I found out none of it was true. And there were other siblings. There were other siblings that were, not my children. They weren't blood children, but they told him the truth. They told him, I was like, "That's not true. Tony was great. He was great. He took care of us."
Did you find Mr. Grant, as far as the other siblings, like that integration, like how that affected him over time?
Yes. It has affected the relationships. over time with other siblings. I have children in North Carolina, and that she kept them away from them. So I had to bridge that gap. Once he and I was able to come together, I bridged that gap, and I was able to get him with his brothers and sisters, and now they have, you have great relationships, but it's not where he's the driving force in reaching out to them and things of that nature. It's the other way around.
So he's able to establish now relationships with aunts and uncles and everybody that he didn't have a connection with during that time.
Yes, because I helped him get out on his own. He was like, I'm ready to get out. When he found out the things that were said concerning me was a lie, he was like, I got to move out. I got to get out. Can you help me? I said, I got you. And I helped him move out. He moved not too far away from me. And he's doing great. He's doing absolutely wonderful.
And today, would you say that with this reunion, that he was able to, I would say, identify the fact that he really didn't have his own identity because it was based around a web of lies, it was based around manipulation, and that he really didn't know the other half of who he was during the term that he lived with his mother? Would you say that now he's in a much more stable place as far as getting to know the other half of him, where he came from, and getting his own identity back where it was robbed from him as a child?
He's getting there. He's not there yet. He still struggles with it. He'll call me out of the blue, and I'll let him vent. I'll listen to him. He's like, Dad, I don't know who I am. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. I don't know. And then I'll talk to him and ask him what he's feeling. And when he tells me what he's feeling, I'll expound on, you know what, you got, if you don't feel that you can talk to me, you got brothers and sisters closer to your age. They're more than happy to talk to you. And because the young people today, some of them, they Pop, you old school. You told this, that kind of thing. So, but he's battling that, finding that true identity of who he is. He's 24 years old, so he's battling knowing the kind of man that he is.
Lala, in that time, the 8 years that Tony Grant was in court and not seeing his children, what would you have suggested? They gave her sole custody as they fought. So I fought them valiantly to stop her from getting sole custody, and they fought me. So the court, I wasn't fighting against her. I was fighting against the court system, a group of attorneys, the clerks, just everybody. They valiantly did everything they could to take my children out of my life. Tony said he didn't stay. He said, this would be a ridiculous fight for me. I'm just going to let God handle it. What could he have done, if anything? If anything, because thus far I've been unsuccessful. And so every time I go into the courthouse, I know I'm in the devil's den of corruption. What could he have done differently?
Well, I think that he was already paying. Most men don't know really how to advocate for their rights because they don't want to deal with the court battle. And so I think if he could have turned back the hands of time, the fact that what appears to me is that she definitely did an abuse of power. She more than likely probably expected you to pay and make sure that everything was consistent on time, but didn't give you the access. And the access and possession is a very general, strict rule across the board, but most people don't know how to voice the fact about access and possession because it's a violation. Can't ask to pay, but not provide access and possession. So whether you had access and possession by way of visitation, whether you had access and possession by way of showing up to school activities, you have a right to that access. So I would say if she wasn't giving you the time, there would have been other areas that you would have had rights to time, such as school activities, any extra activities that he may have been involved in. The school can't say no because they have a judicial order that says, hey, well, we have to give them this access unless you can show us something different. And a lot of parents don't like that. So I think if the concern at that point was that you felt like you would have failed in court or she would have won because she was blended race, then I would have showed up at, the activities. Hi, I'm here. I'm making my presence known and I'm abiding by the court order. You can't tell me not to be here.
Let me interject so you understand something and so the public can understand something. What Lala said is wonderful. If you're a Black woman or you're a white man or you're an Asian man or a Latin man or any other type of man other than a Black man, every time I took access, not one, a cavalcade of police showed up. Cavalcade of police showed up. I was handcuffed on the ground, face down. They attempted to take my life on several occasions, just trying to be a father to my children. And we see Black men getting murdered constantly in this country for no reason whatsoever. I'm telling you, and I'm looking dead into the camera, I faced that on numerous occasions, just trying to be a father to my children. And if it wasn't for the goodness of God, I would not be sitting here right now. Please understand, I wish that we had that freedom to exercise our rights and have access to our children. I would go see my children right now, today. I wouldn't even be sitting on this forum talking to y'all. Do you understand? And Tony was in court with me, and he brought his wife to court with me, so they witnessed the corruption firsthand. Yeah. And I invite everyone to witness the corruption firsthand. And I want the court to be regulated. There are some good judges. There are some good attorneys, just like there are good police officers. And the problem is no one is stopping the bad judges. No one is stopping the bad attorneys. And it's about a game, but that game is to exhaust all your resources. That game is to destroy your health. And what Tony did was said, you know what, I'm not playing this game.
You know what? Because I'm gonna tell you what I have found out. I don't know, or at least I have not met a man in California that has dealt with the situations that we have, and he was placed in a positive setting where he could spend time with his children. I think that sometimes the court system here or the political system here in California, they see the one that whoever's the breadwinner, they know they're going to get more money from that person. And it becomes a situation where they don't care anything about the relationship between the man and his child, his children. I went to court over my son, and I told the police officers, because I went to court over my children for disciplining them. And I told the police officer, I said, look, as long as he's under my roof, I'm going to discipline him. I'm not going to allow you to point a gun at my son and he not know what to do. I said, I'm not going to allow it. So I'm going to go ahead and discipline him and direct him in the way that he should go. And the judge told me, she said, you cannot discipline that boy. I said, then I'll tell you what you need to do. You got any children? She said, I have a daughter. I said, you need to call your daughter and tell them they're going to have a little black brother. Because if I can't discipline my child and direct him, I'm not going to watch him be behind bars and then you making money off of it. It's not going to happen.
You know what? Even further than that, this is my problem. Because when they said that to me, I said, well, then why you got all these sheriffs in here? Huh? Are they getting ready to try to discipline me? Is that what's getting ready to happen? Why they got guns and clubs and they got mace and all of that and tasers and all of that? What is that for? So you telling me I can't discipline my child, but you got some men in here waiting to discipline me? What kind of confusion is this? And I'll say it again to any judge, any courthouse, and any police. I don't care what anybody says. I'm a father. I love my children. And my children were all straight A students. They were all gifted classes, gifted schools. They were doing extremely well. And this corrupt system took them away from me. And I will never be okay with that. And don't talk to me about discipline. Then let the police here walk around without guns like they do in London.
Mm-hmm.
How about that? How many black men have been shot who are innocent and who are law-abiding citizens because ignorant, weak officers who don't represent what officers should represent? There are good officers out there. These guys are making the good officers look bad because they're so horrible in what they're doing. They shouldn't be wearing a badge. They should not have a gun while they talking about we can't discipline our children. Lala, what are your thoughts on the entire disciplinary actions towards children?
I think they have so many different requirements right now that if you blink at your child wrong, it's used against you. So
That's correct.
it's between CPS's guidelines and the court's guidelines. I mean, really, you should just be like, now, Jeffrey, you should I'm going to count, and that's it. So the discipline thing, yeah, there's some courthouses where they won't say anything. And then you have other judges are like, well, I'm glad that you whooped him, but it typically is only if it's like a black on white type of issue that the kid got in trouble at school. Then it's okay to discipline. But if it's for anything else, then it's a problem. So their model that they have set up, and oh my God, it's mental abuse because you struck the child. It's just
that's what I'm confused about.
Kids can go to school and with guns and bomb places and do everything because they have no type of foundation, no type of strong foundation at home where the parents are able to get them to a place of center. No, they just kind of do whatever they want, and it's just dysfunction.
I was told that I was told that if I discipline my kid, and this is not even, we weren't even talking about me spanking them. We weren't even talking about me whooping them. That the judge told me, she said, if you take a bottle of water, a cap of bottled water, and you just put it on your fingers and you toss it in his direction, that's considered a misdemeanor. I said, oh, wait. I said, wait a minute. Are you serious? But then I had to turn and look at my constituents, and I said, okay, I get
That's
it.
considered a misdemeanor?
Misdemeanor.
Is that facts, Lala?
So you'll be arrested.
That's the thing about when these judges come into their term, especially if it's like their first term, they're trying to really show that abuse of power and really show like, hey, I'm a judge now. And they have to compete with the other judges because they want to make sure when it comes to re-election time, they still have a job. So that it's whoever has as many cases that they were able to take care of, how many judges are able to get it on that rotating docket over and over again. So a flick of water, that's not a misdemeanor.
Let me say this real quick. Let me say this. As Lala said, they are getting elected. We have to start voting for these judges, finding out who these judges are and voting for them. And we have to try our best to get family court completely regulated. This preponderance of the evidence is complete foolishness. We need them to be regulated and someone watching over them constantly so that they can stop destroying families. I guarantee you there are way more families destroyed than there are families who have been helped with family court. And it's definitely not in the best interest of the child as they say it is. Lala, in our situation, men like Tony and I and people out there who would be viewing that have the same situation going on currently, what would be your suggestion, since you are a person who has graduated from law school? What would be your suggestion if they were to go to the court? What would you suggest they do?
I think you have to be very creative because, the court bases everything off of strategy. And I've always told people that. And then on top of the strategy, they bank on you not knowing what your rights are. So you're actually walking into the court system, first go around, vulnerable, not knowing which way the outcome is going to be. And so for men, especially whether they're Hispanic, whether they're African American, I'm like, listen, before you go in that courtroom, you need to be stuck on strategy for a minute, because that's what it's going to be about. And each side is going to get a magic bean. And I've always said that. And so I think because the odds are, oh, well, you beat her, or, you already need to step into court and be like, and so here's my psych eval. I went to go see 3 shrinks, had 3 evaluations done. I'm not violent. By the way, here's my, report card, high school diploma, this, and this. No signs of any violence. Like, you have to kind of be ahead of the game. because the judge is already ready to rule against you. The other attorneys on that side that they've already paid into his election, they're already prepared. He may have even already signed the order before you got into the courtroom. But it's hard to argue a fact. So if you're already stepping into the courtroom and you already have your checks and balances, like, well, before we get into the fact that I'm violent, I just want to let you know we have 3 doctors here that are going to be testifying today on my behalf. And they're going to let you know I've completed a psych eval and I'm also in therapy. And I've also got my new family in therapy too. So what's up?
So you're saying be ahead of the game. What are your thoughts on children being parented in different households? How does it affect the children, Lala?
Let me tell you, that duality, those 2 homes, 2 different rules. I mean, that's why I said, Mr. Grant, that I really admire the fact that you're neutral, because one child will have a level of communication of like, oh, well, your mom makes you go to bed at a certain bedtime. Tell you what, we're just going to let you stay up. Just go to bed when you feel like it.
Right.
You know, so it becomes this competition to where one parent has to maintain that neutral stance no matter what. And also making sure that they stay out of the conflict, because a child is going to come back and say, well, mom said this or dad said this. And I'm like, you know what? Did you notice where you are? Look at that. You're in my house. It's a completely different set of rules here, you know, and then you kind of have to make it fun, which is what I have to do for my child. Like, you know, hey, this is a new adventure. You're in a new place, you know, so that they can not focus so much on the fact of the difference of the home base versus I'm at this house and I have this adventure. And now I'm at the other parent's house and I have this adventure, because kids don't know how to process conflict. They're only processing what's being given to them in that moment. So I can tell you, we make it an adventure. We have to, because sometimes I want to scream. Being honest.
Yeah. You know, for me, I thought about my kids first. I thought about my kids, and like I said, I refused to make them choose, because I was going to win that. I was going to lose that battle. I knew I was going to lose because he was with his mother. He was living with his mother. So I refused to say anything negative. And then in his defense for me, he was able to say, Mom, he has never said anything negative about you, but you've told me nothing but negative about him.
Mr. Grant, can I tell you, being a child of divorce, that, like you said, the truth comes out and kids naturally want to search. They feel that 50% of that other void, like a tug. They want to know the other side of them. So while it may have been something that you felt like you needed to defend, I can assure you that not so much. The other parent ends up having to defend because they lied and they manipulated.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened. You're exactly right. Yeah.
And so today, Tony, your relationship is growing and building with your son, and you're playing catch up. How do you get over the hurt of the years that you lost when you see him? You didn't get a chance to teach him to play football. You're an athlete. You didn't get a chance to teach him to play basketball and ride bikes and do all of that. How do you get over the hurt of that?
I do it now. I focus on, because he's still got that little boy inside of him. He hasn't grown out yet. So I focus on now. I don't think I'll ever get over that. I really don't. I think God would just have to put it in its right place. But I focus on now. The time we have now, I acknowledge, and I'm excited about every time he calls me. Every time I see his name, he can hear the excitement in my voice. Every time he calls me and says, Dad, I did this new song. I want you to check it out. Give me your opinion. Or every time he calls me and says, I watched one of your shows, Dad. I know what it is now that people draw to you, why they draw to you. He just called me the other day and he's like, Dad, I sat down and I studied all the plays that you were in, and I get it now. You don't really care about how it sounds. You care about how people feel from hearing what you sing. I said, exactly. I said, that makes all the difference in the world. Everybody can put a sound in. I said, but when you got to put your heart into it, you leave that out in the audience, and then they can feel you. You're bringing them into your world. And it works the same way with me as being his dad. My goal is that I'll live a good enough life in front of him that he'll look at me or look back on me after I'm gone away from here and say, you know what, my dad, man, he was good people. He was good people. So that's what I focus on. I focus on what we have right now and where we're going. I leave that back there because he has to, and unfortunately, he has to deal with that himself. I mean, I care more about what he feels from this than I do what I feel. And never know what I feel. I may never tell him.
So he inherited your singing gift.
Oh yeah, I think he's better. Yeah, better than me. He singing, writing, acting. It's so amazing.
He's better than you.
He's better than me. Yes, and I'll tell you what's funny. That one of the things that blessed me. He was told, I don't want you doing what your dad did. I don't want you going down the same road your dad did. Like I was just this criminal. I mean, I never did drugs.
You was Eddie Kane from the 5 Heartbeats.
And away from her stuff onto you.
What'd you say, Lala?
Deflecting so that he doesn't look at the mom. They put it all off on dad. Deflecting.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, telling this kid don't do anything that your dad is doing, but yet you're taking him to all the people that helped my career be successful. But then you turn around and I'll never forget this situation. There were 2 shows that came in my direction. One was to play Marvin Gaye in a play. Well, they wanted my son to play the younger Marvin Gaye, and then I played the older Marvin Gaye. But then there also was an opportunity for him to go on the road with Tyler Perry for his last play. So we were both I was getting a call from both of them saying, hey, we want you and your son. Oh no.
Beautiful.
No. That was like,
And so
I
for your other children, was this particular child the only child that you did not have any access to?
That's correct.
So
yes.
you were able to spend time equally with your other children.
Yeah, I didn't have the same situation as that whatsoever. They pushed. Oh my gosh. Yes, call, spend time with just, and anytime you want. You want to come and get them, come and get them. You want to go. And I took my children, my daughters to Vegas. We just hung out. And I let them do what they want to do.
So now you're spending, hold on for just a second, Lala, please. Now you're spending a lot of time with all of your children.
Yes.
And nothing's blocking that.
Nothing. Because they're grown. They're grown now and they make their own decisions. So now that's my dad. He's nothing like what you said he was. And I'm happy. I'm good.
Excellent. And the fans want to know if you have children, birth children with your second wife, Trisha Mann-Grant.
No, we don't have any birth children, but I'll tell you where her children are mine. And I tell everybody, those are my babies. I'm their dad. I would never try to be their father because I know that's not my lane. But I'm their dad, and anything that they need, I'll take the shirt off my back and give it to them. They're amazing, absolutely amazing.
Yes, we're winding down. Time flies so much. Lala, one last question for Mr. Grant, please.
Gosh, there's so many that I have, and I have to try to narrow it down to one. But I will say, for your current wife, was she able to form a relationship? I assume that she is, with your son, and welcome him with open arms so that he can see the neutrality that extends not just from his father, but now also his stepmother.
Let me tell you, that meeting was that was a dream come true for my wife. I thought she was gonna cry. I did. And the thing that my son did that just blessed me is when the first time he came into this house, before he got inside, he asked about her. He said, is your wife home? Is Trisha home? I said, yes, she's in the house. He came straight through the door, came all the way across the room, and went straight to her and put his arms around her neck and just hugged her. It blessed me. I just was like, wow. I was full. I was like, oh, Jesus. Oh, God, you just answered my prayers. And then he sat down. He pulled the chair out and he sat down and they just talked. They just talked. So now he doesn't call without asking about it.
Excellent. Excellent. Yeah. That is beautiful. And I look forward to meeting your son one day. Time just flew by. The first thing I'd like to say to the public is please like, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and share this forum, share this particular show so that people can be enlightened and come out of the darkness, who are suffering alone and afraid of the court system, afraid to stand up for their children, or just simply feel like how Tony felt. There's no way I'm going in there. The deck is stacked against me. You now have groups like Chidenity and this lovely lady right here who is a graduate of law school. She's not just beautiful, she's intelligent as well. Lala, tell them about your organization and how they can find you.
You can at www.chidenity.org, also on Instagram at Chidenity, and also on YouTube as well, to like, share, and subscribe. And so our organization is all about the neutrality, which is an amazing interview that we had today with Mr. Grant, and making sure that your children's identity is protected during parental alienation, and teaching parents how to rise above the conflict and keeping the children first so that they do not lose who they are.
Amen to that. And let me say this even before I let you tell them how they can reach you in the next show they can see you in. Tony Grant, the type of heart that he has is amazing. Tony was in Chicago in concert. I think he was in concert with Music Soul Child, Marsha Ambrosia that time. And I was in town in concert as well. And I came over to Tony's show to hang out with him. And Tony, I think we were leaving rehearsal or something that you were doing. And he said, "Where you going, man?" And I said, "Well, I'm going to see my beautiful little mother. She had heart surgery and she's in rehab." And Tony said, "Well, I'm going with you." He could have been everywhere with Music Soul Child, Marsha Ambrosia, parties in Chicago, the whole nine. He chose to come and sing to my mother in rehab, and she truly adored it. It helped her to heal. In addition to that, when I was in court, Tony and his wife of today, Trisha Mann Grant, were there right with me, supporting me. Tony, I thank you for being a wonderful man of God, a wonderful father, and a wonderful human being. Tell the great people out there how they can come see you in a play and a television show. How can they know more about Tony Grant in concert? Let the people.
Yeah, I've been so blessed. I do a lot of stage plays. I've been working with Tyler Perry for the past 21 years. I am now the lead singer of the really big band called Chicago.
What?
Yes, sir. I know I didn't tell you.
I had no idea. How come you didn't tell me? Wow.
I thought about it after. I was like, wait, I didn't tell him.
Congratulations, brother.
Looking with dates like crazy, setting up for the future. I'm working on 2 television shows where I'm co-writing, as well as one of them I'm the lead in. There's so many wonderful, amazing things that are on the rise that are coming out, whenever God decides that it's time for them to come out. But I will put it this way. I'm not heavy on social media. I just don't believe that I need to push that as much. I think God has ordered my steps already, so I don't need to push that. And I think that, so if you see me, it's mostly because my fans are posting stuff. But I can be seen on Instagram at tgrant621, or on Facebook at Anthony Grant or Anthony Tony Grant on Facebook. But I can be seen there, or you can Google me. I hate saying you can Google me because I feel it. But I can be seen in those areas, or you can see my beautiful wife. You go to her page, Trisha Mann Grant, you'll see me all over it. I don't mind. I'll come and say hello. If that's okay, just come say hi, baby. Okay. Just come on, say hi.
Wow.
You look good.
There she is.
Beautiful.
There's my girl right there. Ladies and gentlemen, Tony Grant, Trisha Mann Grant. Go ahead and say it, y'all. We are the...
I'm Tony Grant.
I'm Trisha Mann Grant.
And we are
The
Grants. All right.
I love it. A beautiful couple. Thank y'all for bringing me such joy seeing you. We always have a great time when we see each other. We're over time, but it was well worth it. We'd like to thank you guys for tuning in to Men's Equal Rights, M.E.R. Please like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. We will see you next week at the same time, 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. My name is Evan Lionel. Thank you for tuning in.
God bless.